tracking as a search and rescue tool is rarely used around the world because emergency agencies are more likely just to put many rescuers into or searchers into the field straight away.
对，那但是很抱歉即便在现在2016年的状况下，还是只有部分的专业单位有受过相关的训练受过相关的训练是完整的相关训练，但是不是所有的队伍都有。一般的处理方法对于救援单位，他最常用的是我把一大堆人直接丢到山里面去。
Yeah, and the reality is that if we have a track laid by a lost person, so they've travelled through here, if we then have 100 searchers converged on that area, of course it's going to look like this, thus losing any possibility of following the sign.
举个比方来讲，如果我这个人走失了，我是走这个路径，然后往前走了，但是我突然现在派了100个人，然后直接上山，那就不知道在找什么东西，是在找搜救人员吗？还是在找失踪者？
Yeah, so it does require the agency who is responding to the search, in some respects, to be a little bit courageous and say, well, you know what, we're going to give the trackers maybe a few hours, the tracking team, to see if they can pick up the track and work before we send 200 searchers out and obliterate any possibility of finding or following the track.
像我认识的北加州的优胜美地国家公园的搜救队伍，它就有一支搜救小组、追踪小组。那在所有的部队在进行前，就是如果有人走失，在进行前的时候，他会让这个小组大概做1-2个小时的追踪，1-2个小时的追踪。那到时候你跟上山的时候，因为爬山是要5天，在优胜美地国家公园是爬山就是5天。你这样的话才不会在100-200个人同时上山，说20-30人同时上山的时候，你会把一些主机做破坏。
Yeah. Interestingly, one country in the world where tracking in search and rescue has been used with surprising success for decades now is the United States.
OK， 那当然就是美国它有一些搜索单位是有很成功的案例。
Yeah, and there are some very skilled and experienced and very successful tracking teams who have for decades been using this skill in the USA. One of the most notable ones, and you can read his books, he's got a big series of books, is a guy named Tom Brown.
OK， 然后有一支 Tom Brown 的队伍是非常强。那如果是对于搜救犬的话，基本上田纳西的搜救犬队，警犬队伍也是非常厉害。
Yeah, if you're interested at all in this, or if the session this afternoon gets you thinking, well, that's interesting, you know, the books to get are the Tom Brown books. Like I've read them all, I've got the whole lot. They're definitely worth reading and looking at because he is acknowledged as one of the foremost experts on this subject. Yeah.
那当然了，为什么威廉会说，如果国家有任何的搜救单位，如果要去选的话，去找这2支队伍，因为它几乎是威廉读过的有文献记录下来的，几乎是最完整的一个搜救，应该是专家了。
Yeah. Having said all that, what we're going to show you now this afternoon are some ways that you can take away some of these ideas and skills and try it out in your own time, because you don't need much to track. In fact, you don't need anything at all. Just a piece of bamboo that you pick up off the ground and some rubber bands.
那当然了，等一下会给大家的是一个非常简单的一些技术，你可以直接带走，你可以把它带走，但你也可以马上有一些概念，你以后在搜救或者是走寻路程上面可以运用到的。
So tracking is just all about observation. We just see and we interpret what we see. That's all it is. So you can do it in your own time. You don't need to have any particular equipment or anything to do it.
那追踪的部分的话，你在平常的时候也可以练习。其实你只要看，你看到你现在发生了什么东西，你评断它有什么东西，它回复给你什么东西。
Yeah, and definitely the more you do, the better you get. So it's as you spend more time practicing, you just get better and better and better.
那当然，这个还是需要经验的，还是要需要经验跟练习。
Excellent. If we apply tracking concepts to search and rescue, the key principle that we need to identify right off is that we've got to firmly identify what's called the point last seen of the lost person.
很简单，就是我们搜救队伍到达现场之后，搜索的追踪小组，他应该要先去问 应该是要把最后那个患者就是失踪者他最后出现的位置找出来。
Yeah.
叫 point of last scene.
Yeah, so the point last seen is the last absolutely definite location where we can guarantee that the lost person was, with no doubt at all. And we call that the PLS or the point last seen. Yeah?
所以我们会看到很多国外的书籍上面会有，救援书籍上面会有P，然后是3个字 point of last scene.
Excellent. When we identify the point last seen, the challenge is to not allow that location to become contaminated or obliterated by people randomly walking all over and responders all trampling the scene, because that then defeats any possibility of using tracking straight away. So we need to keep that point last seen relatively uncontaminated. Yeah?
对啊，那在就是最后出现的位置的时候，我们还是要保存它，尽可能保存它现场的完整，而不是说，我一下就派所有人上去，那他可能很多症状你都看不太到。
Yeah. Straight away, the emergency agency should be finding out a whole bunch of information about the person who is lost. And that type of information will obviously be their size, their build, male, female, etc.
OK， 它这样有几个重点一定要，失踪的人，男性、女性，大概多高、多重？男性跟女性主要有2个很大的不一样，步伐是不一样的，走路的步伐是不一样的，然后还有方位是不太一样。
Excellent. We're going to maybe know what are they carrying? Have they got a really big pack on, or do they have no equipment at all?
那他今天执行的是重装，还是他只是去做户外越野跑步？这个是很重要，因为不同的时候你的踩下的深度是不一样的。
Yeah. What they're wearing, and not just a jacket and pants, but specifically the color of the jacket, what type of fabric it is, what type of fabric and color are the pants.
当然啦，他穿什么样材质的衣服、外套、裤子，还有颜色。
Yeah. And then most importantly, and this is often lost, and this will be quite crucial to the tracking, what sort of footwear they're wearing, and specifically, what does the tread pattern look like?
OK， 那当然你要知道他穿的什么鞋子哈，一定要最好是可以知道他穿什么鞋子。他穿的登山鞋，那最好能知道，如果他穿登山鞋，那这时候收尾小组，因为现在科技很发达，如果他穿登山鞋，你知道他的型号，上网查一查，就可以看得到他的鞋底的样子是什么。
Yeah, so it's no good just saying they're wearing hiking boots, because the problem is if we've got 50 searchers in the field, they're all wearing hiking boots too, aren't they? Of course.
那当然了，如果你想想看，如果你现在派很多人上山，然后大家都穿登山鞋嘛，然后患者也是穿登山鞋，那所以这就很难找，这就会变得非常非常难找。
And the danger is, of course, that we see a track and we go, hiking boots, all right, let's follow that there, and we wind up finding this fellow just here, and he's not who we're looking for, so, okay.
然后我们如果是这种状况的话，我们说，这边有登山鞋的痕迹哦，然后一直走，那走下去，结果就找到另外一个搜救队。
Yeah. So I'd be wanting to know that the lost person is wearing lower Zephyrs and the tread pattern looks like that.
OK， 那
We need to know.
OK， 如果他穿的鞋子的型号是比较低筒，或是比较不常见的鞋子，或者他只是像他们有找寻过越野跑的人，而越野跑的人他是穿运动鞋，那这时候对我来讲会比较方便，因为他是穿运动鞋和运动鞋的。
Yeah. And I'd also want to know that the lost person just happens their size is US size 9, because you never know, some of the searchers might have the same type of boots.
OK， 那当然啦，它的尺寸大概是多少，能知道的话当然是最好的。
Yeah. So we're building up a picture, aren't we? A picture of information, so that we can confirm, particularly footprints, but the sign that we're going to be looking for and then following, and not end up on the wrong track, basically.
那当然还是要能找出来。那有些单位他会做重建，所谓的重建就是在搜索人员出去的过程中，他们有另外一批的人会去找寻到那个尺寸的鞋子，然后踩下去，在一个比较稳固的状况下，它所反映出来的样子是什么？但是需要时间，这需要时间。
Excellent. So when we're physically, we identify the point last seen, and if we identify the track or at least sign of the person who is lost, then ideally we can commence tracking. And what we're going to be looking for is either referred to as top sign, which is everything from about here up to here. Okay, so top sign is from basically about ankle height up into the trees anywhere. Yep.
那还有一个就是人身体会造成周围环境的影响，例如它经过芒草堆，经过芒草堆的时候，它可能会把，sorry， 可能会把那些芒草做压解的动作，所以它有可能会有一条路径出现。
Yep. And top sign can be many things. It can be particularly for women with longer hair or guys with longer hair. It can be hair left behind on vegetation. Could be tiny scraps of clothing that may have been torn off, or literally vegetation type stuff. So if I move through here, and I'm coming through here like this, something like that. That's top sign, isn't it? There.
就很简单，高度也是很重要的原因，就是当我人员经过树丛、灌木丛或者是踩踏的时候，它会对树木造成伤害。
And of course, something like that, if I'm following the track and I'm coming through and I identify that there, that may well give me, because of literally where it is, an idea of the direction of travel. Because it's unlikely that would be that way if the person was walking this way.
当然，对撕裂的方向，记住一下，它是撕裂的方向。我从这里往那边走，它的撕裂方向一定是这边嘛。如果我从另外一侧往这边走，它这边不容易受伤，但是另外一侧的地方有可能会，它反方向的话90度角，它会从这一侧撕裂。
Data and information from searches that have occurred all the way around the world, certainly in Australia, where I live in the Blue Mountains, where there are many rescues, excuse me, has demonstrated that people who are panicked and lost tend to leave a lot of top sign because they just crash through the terrain with no effort to try and move carefully.
对，当然，不管是澳洲或美国他们的资料都显示一个东西，就是他如果人走失的时候，他如果有惊恐的状况的时候，他经过的树丛或者怎么样中间，它都是比较强力的动作，比较强力的动作会造成蛮多伤害。
Yeah. So again, it can be certainly easier potentially to follow someone who is panicked and lost because they'll tend to just barge through, like this, like an elephant.